I don't want no oil, a spoil in my shoreline. I like fish much better than crud. I like birds and things a-creeping and crawling. Won't trade no more oil for blood. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that black demon oil's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. I don't want them nukes run by them kooks who think radioactivity is fun. No more three-headed frogs or kids with leukemia. Nuclear power ain't fit for a dog. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that nuclear power's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. No nukes!
Good morning, Toledo, and good afternoon, Cleveland, and hello to those of you listening on the internet, wherever and whenever you are. This is Joe DeMar, and you're listening to For a Green Future, and today you're listening to the special Father's Day edition of For a Green Future. So all of you fathers out there, some of you might be actually out right now on the lake fishing with your sons, and you might be wondering, what happened to the sports? Well, don't worry. Promptly at 9, sports will be back with Mick Gonzalez and the Cheap Seats here on 106.5 FM. But for the next hour, what we're going to be talking about here on For a Green Future is the environment, ecology and the environment, the way it affects you, the way it affects your family, your pocketbook, your health. And we're going to be talking about it from an upbeat, positive point of view because this is For a Green Future. And here on For a Green Future, we do believe that there will be a green future, that we're going to figure out all this environmental stuff and we're going to fix it, and we're going to all be able to enjoy things like fishing and boating and hiking in the woods and camping in the forest, and that is the green future, and that's what we're working towards. My own son, Joey, he actually is off. He went off to Florida yesterday, of all things. So we did our Father's Day yesterday morning. We actually went out and we went fishing, and I'm not going to tell you where because we did actually catch some fish. And I'll just tell you it's one of the 20 parks that the Wood County Park District maintains. And caught some nice largemouth bass there, and actually went home and cleaned it out and fried it up. And it was the first time in many years I've done this. I used to go fishing all the time. When I was a kid, we lived in Elmira, New York for a while, and I used to spend summers almost daily going down to the Chemung River, which is a beautiful little river down there, and catching fish, and take them home and regularly clean them and eat them and feed them to I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, so there was always hungry children around whenever I was growing up, and whenever I'd bring something home, like fish or a rotisserie chicken or whatever it was, they'd be right there, and so I'd always have to share with them. I guess that was sort of training to be a father. I have 2 sons. I'm very proud of them. One, Joey, who still lives here, and the other who lives in Anchorage, Alaska. And I've gotten to go visit him, and that was really cool. And so that's what the theme for today's show is really cool environmental, really cool natural experiences that you had with your father. I'm looking for stories where your dad took you out and maybe went fishing with you, or maybe hunting or hiking or camping, some kind of situation you had with your father that you remember that had an impact on you. And usually I don't open up the phone lines till about 8:15, but this show I'm going to open up the phone lines right away. So if you're out, if the fish aren't biting and you're out there on a boat listening on the call in, get your cell phone out and call us at 866-240-1065. That's 866-240-1065. I'm looking for stories of nature and fathers together. My own father, he was an avid fisherman. He really just, whenever he had a fishing pole in his hand, he was smiling. And he, unfortunately, he passed away young. He died at age 53. But before he passed, we had many happy memories, many times. He was also a scoutmaster of our scout troop, so he took us out camping, my brothers and me, quite frequently. And one of the nicest times we had as a family was when he took us all 9 of us, up to the Adirondack Mountains. And we went fishing there in some of those really cold, clear streams up there. And we went trout fishing and caught some trout. And it was just a fantastic experience. My father was a fellow who worked really hard. I mean, he raised 7 kids, excuse me. There were 9 of us in the family. He put everything he had into raising the family. He was a workaholic, and he was a salesman for a National Cash Register, NCR. And some of you might remember that used to be headquartered down there in Dayton, Ohio, and he actually worked at the national headquarters for a while. That's when our family lived in Centerville, Ohio. But he put everything he had into protecting us and exposing us to nature. He felt was part of bringing us up properly. It was, exposing us to the way the natural world worked, showing us things that were growing, toughening us up, because, we are living in these houses with our nice warm beds and our central heating. But if you're in a tent and it's 30 degrees outside and you've got to make a fire, or else you might actually get hypothermia, that's an important lesson. It teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you that you can handle a lot more than you thought you could. And it teaches you self-reliance. It teaches you the necessity of getting up and doing things. And our society right now doesn't teach those lessons. It's kind of up to the father in a lot of cases to consciously teach their children this by taking them out into the wilderness. And how about you? Did your dad ever do that with you? Did he ever take you camping? Did you ever, crawl out of a tent and all cold and everything, and then your dad just says, well, if you're cold, build a fire? Sounds simple, but it's an important lesson. A lot of people think that all you have to do to get what you want in life is to just complain loud enough. Well, when you're out in the woods or when you're hiking, that doesn't work. You have to actually get in there and actually do stuff. So that's the theme for today, is fathers and nature. So don't be afraid to call at 866-240-1065. We would like to hear the stories of your father and how he instilled a love of nature in you, or how he showed you what the natural world was like. 866-240-1065. That is not, of course, all we're going to do, because we have a whole hour here, and we have a special guest calling in. Her name is Becca Pollard, and she's with the Sierra Club. She's with a sort of a subdivision of the Sierra Club called Beyond Coal, and she's going to call in about 8:15. Then, of course, we'll hear from our terrific sponsors, and then we're going to hear some news, some environmental news about things that have been happening this past week, and then we're just kind of going to wing it after that. We're going to see what happens, see what you guys have to say at 866-240-1065. You've got almost an hour here to kind of remember a story and decide you're going to share it, and we'd all appreciate it. We're all waiting to hear about your father. Was he a terrific guy, or are you somebody who your father tried to force you to like nature, force you to get out there and get tough, and like it was one of the most traumatic things that ever happened to you? Either way, we'd like to hear from you at 866-240-1065. So, I actually got out there and caught some fish and cleaned them up and cooked them last night. It was great. It was literally it's the freshest fish you can buy if you catch it yourself, and then literally clean, cook it, and eat it right there. it was terrific. But it's been a long time since I've done it, so I was kind of inept at it. I didn't get nearly as clean a fillet as they do on those internet videos that I watched to remember how to do it, because it had been like 30 years. But managed to do it, and I think, some people think that we shouldn't fish, we shouldn't hunt, and I'm afraid, I am an environmentalist, and I am an animal rights advocate. I do believe animals have rights, and we need to respect them. But I think that there's a place for hunting and fishing in our society. I think that animals and plants have grown up, have evolved alongside us, and as we've evolved, we've been hunting them, we've been fishing them, and we are kind of part of their culture. It was kind of interesting. On the way in this morning, I was driving through Perrysburg, and an entire herd of deer, 7 deer that I counted, crossed the road right in front of me. Over by there's those railroad tracks near the cemetery. I don't know if you know exactly where that is, but and they were beautiful. They looked healthy, and I was not thinking of hunting them or shooting them. I just saw the deer and was like, wow, that looks fantastic. And I'm happy that they're around. But hunting is part of deer culture. Being hunted is part of what makes a deer a deer. They've evolved to be watchful, and they've evolved to be wary, because they never know when there might be a wolf around or a human hunter. And when we remove those things, when we exterminate the wolves, and when we go put them in protected areas where people aren't allowed to shoot, their behavior changes. They get bolder. They come out more. They're more likely to do things like walk right in front of a car, and less likely to spend a lot of time hiding. And so I think there's a place in nature, in a green future, for hunting. Do you agree with me? Is this disappointing you to hear that I'm somebody who thinks that we can hunt, that we should have hunting? At 866-240-1065. I know some people that are very adamant about that point, that there shouldn't be any hunting, there shouldn't be any fishing, that we should live solely off of things like plants and all be vegans. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to give you some airtime, and you can call in at 866-240-1065. And I know other people who feel the exact opposite, that they want to eat nothing but meat, and when possible, they want to kill that meat and skin it and whatever themselves. And are you one of those people? There's room for a lot of discussion on talk radio, and that's partly why I love talk radio so much, is that we get to hear different points of view. And I say this is the best show in the state of Ohio, but it does get better every time you call in. So don't be afraid to call in. We're almost to our special guest, Becca Pollard, right now, and so we'll be talking to her in just a minute. But you can call in at any time, and we will talk to you. And the segment with Becca, that's going to last, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes at the outside. And then after that, we'll be back to taking your calls. So what Becca is going to be calling in about is something that we've been following since the start of the year, unfortunately. It's House Bill 6. Interesting stuff happening with House Bill 6. I said 2 weeks ago we had some protests across Ohio, and they apparently had an effect because the state Senate was ready to just ram that bill through Wednesday before last. Literally just hear one person speaking for it, one person speaking against it, and then forcing the vote. Well, we had protests all across Ohio, and more than 100 people participated, and they kind of backed off that, and now they're doing the hearings. This past week they had proponent testimony, that is, people who want the bill to pass, and then this week they're going to have opponent testimony, and then they're probably going to vote on it the week after that. And so this is the situation into which Becca Pollard steps in a dramatic fashion. Becca, are you there on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Thank you very much for calling and being with us here on For a Green Future. Did you hear my little update? Were you able to catch that?
No, I missed it.
Okay, well, basically I just told people about how last week's testimony was proponent and this week's is opponent, and then probably they're going to vote on this thing the week after that. And so you've been involved in this fight for quite a bit now. You're opposing House Bill 6. Could you just tell us what organization you're with and why that organization opposes House Bill 6?
Yeah, I'm an organizer with Ohio Beyond Coal, which is a campaign of the Sierra Club. And, you know, it might seem odd for the Beyond Coal campaign to get involved in what started out as the nuclear bailout. But even from the beginning, this bill, in addition to bailing out the nuclear plants, had a provision to roll back our energy efficiency and renewable energy standards. And these are standards that save Ohioans a lot of money, that reduce our emissions, and are helping to create clean energy jobs in Ohio. So, you know, our goal with the Ohio Beyond Coal campaign is to transition Ohio off of dirty fuels to renewables. So even before the coal plants were added to the bailout, we were very concerned about how this might impact our ability to do that.
So you don't include nuclear as a quote-unquote renewable energy source?
No. You know, I think that people have a point when they say that it doesn't produce carbon emissions during generation. But, you know, that there isn't a long-term solution for the nuclear waste, and it's not actually carbon-free during the mining process and all of that.
Yeah, well,
the real concern for us is, you know, we have the ability to generate real renewable energy here in Ohio, and it's actually cheaper now than nuclear is. So, you know, it really is viable now to produce our electricity using solar and wind, and, you know, we just need to have good policy in place so that this can happen, so that we can actually make this transition.
Well, that warms my heart, Becca, because not all environmental organizations are taking that tack. Some of them, as you know, in the hearings on the House bill, during the House hearings, got up there and said, oh, we don't have any problem with the nuclear part. We just want to protect the efficiency and so forth. And I'm glad to hear that Sierra is still of the opinion that nuclear is not renewable energy, because that's my opinion too.
Right.
Now, we are a call-in show, Becca, at 866-240-1065, and so if anybody has a different opinion, you're welcome to call in, and Becca and I will discuss it with you. So where is the fight right now, so to speak? I know that First Energy is flooding the airwaves through this front group called, what's the name of it? Energy Now or something like that. Mm-hmm. With ads saying that House Bill 6 is this wonderful thing, and showing pictures of wind turbines and solar panels, even though it doesn't do anything. It actively...
Right, it's very misleading.
Yeah, it actively blocks wind turbines and doesn't do anything to help the solar industry. Right. So whereabouts are we in this struggle?
Well, it passed the House a few weeks ago, and now it's in the Senate before the Energy and Utilities Committee. So, as you mentioned before, there have already been some hearings, and we're now going into the week where there will be an opportunity for opposition testimony. So there will be a hearing on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m., and if anyone would like to speak at that hearing, you just need to submit your written testimony and your witness slip by 9:30 a.m. on Monday, which is tomorrow. So that's coming up very soon. There will be another hearing on Wednesday for all testimony. So if you missed the deadline for the Tuesday hearing, you can submit your testimony later in the day on Monday or early in the day on Tuesday for that hearing.
Okay. And aren't you working with Ohio Citizen Action on, there's going to be some interesting public actions coming up tomorrow and Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, let's hear about those.
Yeah, so Monday morning we're going to be in Cincinnati at Stanberry Park, and we are going to have a rally. We're going to have some great speakers there. We're going to have Cincinnati Mayor Cranley, and we're going to have State Rep Cedric Benson speak about HB 6 and why they oppose it. We will also have a representative of the Sierra Club speaking about our concerns about how Cincinnati will be impacted if this goes through. There's a coal plant, the Clifty Creek coal plant in Indiana produces a lot of air pollution that impacts the Cincinnati area, and that's one of the coal plants that will benefit from HB 6 if it goes through.
Okay, wait. I just want to focus on that for just a second. So what this bill, which HB 6 would do, is it add charges to the electric bills of the people in Cincinnati, and that money will be used to subsidize the coal plant, which is polluting Cincinnati, which is causing a good deal of Cincinnati smog. So the Ohio State Legislature is trying to get people to pay for their own smog, to get their own pollution.
To import it from out of state.
Right, from out of state pollution too. I mean, not even it's not even smog that generates Ohio jobs. It's just smog that comes and kills Ohioans. Wow.
Right, and it's especially frustrating for folks in an area like Cincinnati where there have been local initiatives to transition away from dirty fuels. Cincinnati has actually made a commitment to transitioning to 100% renewable energy by 2035, so it's really kind of a slap in the face to everyone who's been working towards making Cincinnati a cleaner, more renewable place to live. But yeah, so we'll have a rally, and then we'll have a people's hearing to follow that, so it will give regular people an opportunity to speak about their concerns about HB 6 and especially about how their local community will be impacted.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that you're going to have a special gigantic guest at the rally part.
Yes, we are going to have a big inflatable pig, so it will be hard to miss.
Right, and so this is a pig that was also used in Pennsylvania to fight the proposed bailout for the 3 Mile Island Unit 1. And basically it's just sort of, I guess it's to point out the fact that this is pork, that the people who oppose pork in government subsidies, this is like pure 100% pork. Yeah, so... Yeah, it's 25 foot long, and it worked over there. So maybe it'll help here in Ohio too. So you're going to be in Cincinnati on Monday, and where else are you going to be?
Yeah, so so that rally in Cincinnati starts at 10 a.m. at Stanberry Park, and then some of our folks and the giant pig will be going on a little tour. They'll be going up to Bowling Green for a rally at 3:30 at Worcester Green, and then on Tuesday they'll be in Medina Public Square at noon.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and I think that First Energy has, I think they've put $4 million so far and climbing into their ad campaign on this, and so they're misleading a lot of people. But we do have people. I mean, we can talk to each other. We can do these public things. We don't have $4 million, but we do have each other. And I think that's actually more valuable than the money.
Absolutely.
Personally. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Ohioans overwhelmingly support transitioning to renewable energy. So, we just really need to make our voices heard, let our legislators know that we are not happy about this plan, that, this really is not what the people want, and we need to make sure our friends and neighbors are informed because we do have to dispel all this disinformation that's being put out. We need to make sure that everyone has access to accurate information about what's happening here.
So I guess we're saying So you're saying that people could call their state legislature or their state senators, for example?
Yes.
Well,
and I would really encourage everyone to do that. Not only call your own senator, but call all the senators on the Energy and Utilities Committee and let them know that you do not support HB 6.
All right, great. Well, so this is a good thing that you guys are doing, and I will definitely be there in Bowling Green. So I'm looking forward to seeing this gigantic pig. But it's a serious question, though, because this is really going to set the course for the state of Ohio for years to come if this passes.
Right.
And I think let's just take a step back and see, what if they do nothing? What if they just leave everything the way it is right now? What happens to Ohio's energy future if we just continue with current policies?
Well, we definitely don't have perfect policies here in Ohio right now. There are some things that we'd really like to see fixed, like our wind setbacks, for example. But under the current policies, we are already seeing a lot of renewable energy growth. So I think, if we could get the right policies in place, we would see faster growth. But I think we are already on a path towards a transition to renewable energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a graph this past week. Wind and solar are now cheaper than anything else. They're cheaper than coal. They're even cheaper than natural gas. And so if this was a purely market-driven situation, I think they'd already be winning. They'd already be in place.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, Becca, thanks so much for coming on, and good luck in these actions that are going to happen.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Oh, you're welcome. And I would just wanted to ask you really quickly, what do you see as the potential here in Ohio for wind and solar power? Because when I'm on the internet, I see a lot of people, they just flat out say, "Oh, wind and sun, it's impossible. It can't replace nukes. It can't replace coal or natural gas." Do you think that that potential is there?
I do. It's become so much more affordable to do these things now, and that means that it makes sense to do it in places where it didn't make sense to do it a few years ago. We're also seeing huge advances in technology for storage and for efficiency, and those components play a key piece in the transition. We have to be able to store energy, and we have to use less. But, using less doesn't mean that, you have to, keep your lights off, or, that you can't do all the things that you would normally do. It just means that we have to take the steps that are available to use less by being more efficient.
Yeah, that's one of the main points we always make on For a Green Future, is that the green future is not an uncomfortable future. It's not a future where you can't turn on your lights when you need a light, or can't have air conditioning. It's we can do all these things. We just need to do them a little smarter, a little more efficiently, and do it with it truly green. So when people are seeing on Facebook or on Twitter, and they see somebody toss in a comment, wind and sun are just don't work, you could just say to them, they're just wrong.
They're wrong, and they might be using some outdated information. Or they might just, be believing propaganda that they're hearing. But yes, we can do a lot of things now that we couldn't do a few years ago. And I would really encourage people to do their own research and, find out where the technology is today.
All right. Well, that's a great optimistic note to end on. So thank you so much for being on, Becca, and happy Father's Day.
Same to you.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, that was Becca Pollard from the Sierra Club. So what did you think of what Becca had to say? Do you believe her? Do you still think, are you one of the people that will get on these comment sections and say, "Oh, wind and sun, good luck with that"? And call in 866-240-1065, but also call in. We're particularly looking today for the Father's Day special We're looking for stories of your father and nature, times where he took you camping or times where he took you out on a boat, or just things that he did to make you appreciate nature and the natural world. 866-240-1065. We're looking forward to your call. But now it's what we call in Radio Land the bottom of the hour. And so at this time, we get to hear from our terrific sponsors. And one of those sponsors is the Wood County Park District. The Wood County Park District is a natural resources conservation agency. They protect natural spaces, maintain quality green spaces, provide engaging programs that teach people to love and respect nature, restore wildlife habitats, and they lead outdoor adventures. The Wood County Parks protects 20 parks and nature preserves around Wood County, and they're all open from 8 a.m. to 30 minutes past sunset every day of the year. And this coming week, we have a ton of things going on. Once again, tomorrow, Monday, June 17th, there's going to be a full moon walk, and that's going to happen at the Slippery Elm Trail at the Cricket Frog Cove, which is down there in Signet. That's at 14810 Freeman Road in Signet. And you'll enjoy a gentle stroll under the full strawberry moon and learn moon lore and look and listen for nocturnal wildlife. They do recommend bug spray because there are a fair amount of mosquitoes out there this year. But if you bring a flashlight, have one that has a red lens. So that's 8:30 to 10 p.m. tomorrow. Then on Tuesday, they're having a Conservation Volunteer Day. That's Tuesday, June 18th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Rudolph Savannah. And the Savannah is at 10330 Rudolph Road in Rudolph. And you can go down there and help with invasive species and help remove trash and basically just improve that park. Also on Tuesday, June 18th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., they're going to be going out on the Portage River, and they're going to be doing a water quality assessment. So you can learn about the water quality of the Portage River by catching and identifying macroinvertebrates from the water, things like crayfish and dragonfly larvae. You have to be prepared to go into the water, and you need to have closed-toed shoes, but you don't need any experience. But you will have an experience out there catching critters and using them to assess how healthy the Portage River is. Then on Thursday, June 20th, from 6 to 8 p.m., they're having a native nursery night. So if you don't want to go wading in a river, you can go into a nice controlled environment in the greenhouses at the J.C. Rothinger Memorial Preserve at 30730 Oregon Road in Perrysburg, and you can help them to maintain and harvest seeds from their native plant nursery. Also on Thursday, June 20th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the WW Nature Preserve on 29530 White Road in Perrysburg, they're having a program called Teen Nature, and teens will participate by assisting with stewardship projects at the preserve, and they'll learn about the iNaturalist program. Bring your smartphone and take photos and add them to the WC Parks and iNaturalist apps. There'll be snacks and conversation, and that one is from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. on Thursday. Then on Friday, there's a real adventure, Scenic River Canoeing. That's Friday, June 21st from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Excuse me while I rustle some papers here. That is going to happen at the Orleans Boat Launch on East Harrison Avenue in Perrysburg. Enjoy a scenic paddle on the Maumee River around the Audubon Island State Nature Preserve with naturalists and ODNR stream scientists. So if you're somebody like me who drives by on River Road and looks over at those islands there, this is your chance to actually go see them and hear about them from as expert people as you can get. This one does cost. It costs $10. And you register for it at wcparks.org. Or you can call the Wood County Park District headquarters at 419-353-1897. And then finally, there's going to be a weekend course. This is a wilderness first aid course. It goes Saturday and Sunday, June 22nd and 23rd. It's an all-day event, 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., and it's at the WW Nature Preserve. And if you take this course, you'll learn how to save life and limb when you're mired in an area far from the hospital or in a natural area far from an access point. It's a formal class provided by Medic Solo. It's got classroom instruction and hands-on problem solving. And if you do this course, you will have a 2-year certification in Solo. And then the cost is $195. The program facilitator is Craig Spicer. And for all these programs, you go to wcparks.org or call 419-353-1897. And for all the volunteer opportunities, like going to the greenhouses and so forth, or getting rid of invasive species, you register for those at wcparks.galaxydigital.com. That's wcparks.galaxydigital.com. So that's what's going on, some of what's going on this week at the Wood County Park District. Our other sponsor is DeMar Consulting. DeMar Consulting is a computer consulting company. They will come to your house and they will help you solve your computer problems one-on-one, hands-on. No need to take your computer apart and bring it into a store. They will come and diagnose your problems for you. Maybe you need to back up your computer. You haven't done that in a while. You need to remember how to do that. They can do that for you. Maybe you're having trouble. Maybe your computer is not talking to your printer, or your Wi-Fi network isn't quite working right. You can't stream to your television set like you're supposed to be able to. Any of those sorts of problems, DeMar Consultants will come out and help you. And everyone at DeMar Consulting has a degree in computer science, so you know what they know, or you know that they know what they're talking about. And DeMar Consulting is, you can find them on the web at demarconsulting.com. That's DEMARE, the word consulting.com. Or you can call them or text them at 419-973-3000. That's 419-973-3000 for DeMar Consulting for all your home computing needs. So, all right, thanks to our wonderful sponsors. So now, once again, we're back to the call-in part of the show, so please call in at 866-240-1065. And I need to update you. This is where we talk a little bit about some of the most important environmental news stories from the past week. And there's one that kind of just sort of came and went this past week that was actually very important, and I think it's worth stopping and turning around and looking at that and going back to it. And that is that in front of the U.S. House of Representatives, there was testimony from 5 different former Environmental Protection Agency administrators. So people who in past presidential situations, past administrations, they were the ones in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency. And these 5 were part of 7 former EPA administrators who wrote a letter to Congress. And basically they were there to tell us that the Trump environmental administration is repudiating science, that the Trump administration is simply ignoring what scientists are saying on a host of environmental issues, and that the things that the Trump administration is doing in terms of reversing environmental law and environmental policy will hurt us. They will result in humans getting sick. They will result in our economy getting damaged. I mean, Trump, the reason he says he's doing all this stuff is to help the economy, but sick people don't go out and buy stuff. If you've got a chronic health problem that's being caused by, let's say, air pollution, and there's millions of Americans in that situation right now, and Trump is poised to make that worse. But if you're somebody you're spending all your time and money on asthma medications, you're not going to be going out buying a new car. You're not going to be changing the furniture in your dining room. You're not going to go on a big expensive vacation because, sick people don't spend except on trying to maintain their health. And so one of the things that Trump is changing, he's changing right now, oil and gas companies have to report when they put pollution into the air. It's called self-reporting, and it doesn't work 100%. There's so many temptations to just simply lie on the report because the EPA is so understaffed already. It's hard to catch them when they don't tell the truth. But they are legally required to do it. And what the Trump administration is saying is, guess what? You're no longer legally required to report how much you're polluting. You don't have to tell us about the methane or the CO2 you're putting into the air. Just do whatever you want, basically, because if there's no reporting at all, then there's also no regulation. They're doing the same thing with coal ash. Now, coal ash is really this terrible stuff. It's what you get left after you burn coal, and it's full of toxic heavy metals. It's brown, it's black, it's grimy, it's dark gray, but it's horribly toxic, and it pollutes whatever body of water it touches. Heavy metals immediately leach into them, and there's whole sections of the country that are literally dead because of the pollution leaking from coal ash. Well, Trump wants to completely deregulate it. He wants to say, oh, coal ash, that's no different from, that's no different from the ash from your barbecue pit. That he wants no regulation on coal ash, even though it kills people. It's full of mercury and cadmium and all kinds of heavy metals that damage people, especially children. They're the ones who suffer the most from all these environmental toxins because they don't have the resistance of an adult. So if you expose a child to mercury in much lower doses than an adult human, they immediately start having nervous system damage, and it lowers their IQ, and it does terrible things to them that will hurt them for the rest of their lives. And another one of the terrible things that Trump is proposing is to eliminate regulations on mercury emissions and just say, go ahead, coal companies, as much mercury as you want to put into the air, go ahead and poison everybody as long as you make some money doing it. And you might think, oh, Joe, you're exaggerating. You're just some crazy environmentalist. Except that, no. This past week, all the former EPA administrators, everybody who was running the EPA before Trump, and we're talking people under George W. Bush, who was an oil man, and George H.W. Bush, who was notorious for rolling back environmental protections. In fact, 4 out of the 5 who testified were Republican former EPA heads. So this is not a Republican-Democrat issue. This is a survival issue. Trump and his administration are threatening our survival, and it's gotten so serious that even former EPA officials under Republican presidents are coming out and saying this is just literally insane, that you cannot do this to the American people, and we should not stand for it. Now, there are some people, and I've heard them, and they're a minority. This is a very important thing to remember. Most of us, 70+%, 80%, most of us understand the need for environmental regulations and want actually stronger environmental regulations that protect us more. But there is this hardcore, this 30-some percent, 25-30%, that believe Trump no matter what he says. And so if Trump says, oh, mercury can't hurt you, you can't see it, how can something that doesn't see you hurt you? They will believe him. And these are the people that will dismiss something. Let's say there's a news report on, let's say, NBC. So their response is just, oh, NBC. So they've completely dismissed anything that NBC has to say because Trump told them to. No evaluation, no personal analysis of what's going on, no attempt to think these problems through. Just, oh, Trump says NBC is everything NBC says is a lie, therefore everything NBC says is a lie. So if there are any of you out there listening right now, I want to point out to you that if you believe what a guy tells you, even if what he tells you flies in the face of science, even if the best minds that we have on the planet have come out and said the opposite, using the most rigorous scientific methods possible, and you instead believe Trump because that's what he says, I have to say that you are not a Republican. You are not. What you are actually is a cultist. You're a cult member. You've reached that point where you believe the leader no matter what he tells you, no matter how fantastic. Because here we have former EPA administrators, people who are experts in the environment, people whose job was to protect the American people from environmental harm, and they've all come out against these rule changes that Trump is pushing through willy-nilly. And so if you believe Trump, no matter who opposes him, no matter what evidence is given in opposition to what Trump is saying, you've become a cult member. You are now a member of the cult of Trump. And this is an intervention. I'm doing my best to try to save you before you do something really terrible, because that's what usually ends up happening with these cults, is that the leaders, once they have absolute control over the people underneath them, then they end up doing terrible things to them because they actually don't care about them. You know, that's one thing about cult leaders, is they don't actually care about the people that they've suckered into their black hole, into their vacuum. And I'm afraid that's the point we're at with Trump, literally trying to deny science. I mean, we've known mercury is toxic. We know mercury hurts people for decades. Well, actually, since the 1800s, we've known about the dangers of mercury. But Trump is just trying to deny that because he's Trump. He's saying to you, because I'm Trump, I can say that mercury does not hurt people. And if you believe him, you are now a cult member. I'm sorry, you're a member of the cult of Trump. And please, come out of the cult. I can't do an intervention for you. I can't pull you out of that physically, go and rescue you. But I'm asking you to start using those faculties that you've set aside in order to believe Trump and everything he says. Start, as Becca Pollard was saying earlier, start analyzing these things independently and think to yourself, can we really put tons of mercury into the environment without it affecting anything? And I think you'll find that the answer is no, that what Trump is proposing is just not only irrational, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to you, it's dangerous to your children, it's dangerous to your pocketbook, because ultimately these things all cost you money, even though it doesn't seem like it, even though like the state legislature is saying, oh, we're going to reduce your electric bill by like $1 if we pass House Bill 6. That's $12 a year. No, actually it's going to cost you money because you're going to be less healthy and you're going to pay more. You're going to have to buy more electricity because it eliminates the efficiency program. So you're going to end up paying First Energy a lot more money. So that was a bit of a rant there. Thanks for sticking with me through it. I'm still looking for some callers at 866-240-1065. If anybody could call in and talk about, let's say, their father and some experiences they had with nature, I'd be happy to talk about that. And I wish this show, actually, and what I'm sure this show will become as we go along here, as we actually solve some of these problems, is more a discussion of how we get to the green future and what we do when we get there, as opposed to, what are these awful things that Trump and the Republican Congress and the Republican-controlled state legislature are trying to do to us. Because that's really where my focus I would like the focus of this program to be, is the step-by-step, how we do it, what do we do. That's why I had Leatra Harper on, because she has a house that is going zero carbon. She's got solar panels. She's got the backup batteries Becca was talking about. And she's on her way to the green future. And we can all be there with her on that trip. But the problem is, and I saw a post this past week on social media. Someone posted a graph that showed wind and solar are now cheaper than coal, cheaper than nuclear, and they said it's over. They said now that wind and solar are the cheapest, they'll win, and we'll go to a green future. Unfortunately, I had to tell them, I'm sorry, but politics trumps economics. It doesn't matter if it's the cheapest. If they change the laws so that you can't have wind and solar, we won't have wind and solar, no matter how practical it is. Oh, so, hey, we have a call. All right, Carol is calling from Bowling Green, and she wants to talk about Father's Day. Carol, please go ahead.
Hello, Joe.
Yes.
Hi. I really like your show. I think you're doing a great job every week.
Oh, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
I even started getting up early for it.
Good. And wake your friends, too. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Well, you said something about talking about Father's Day.
Yeah, in terms of, like, your father and nature, and do you have any connections there?
Well, my dad, I grew up in the 60s, and my dad worked 6 days a week at that time. Well, actually, later he worked 7, but that's all right. At that time, he was only working 6 because he worked for somebody else and not for himself. So on Sundays, he always, after church, when the weather was good, year-round, would want to go somewhere and do something with the family. And one of the things we used to do was go out to oak openings, which is the oak openings of 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. But we would go out into oak openings as one of the regular things that we did, which after living in the city, oak openings felt like deep woods. Mm-hmm. And one reason we went there was because my mother had grown up on a farm just adjacent to it, and we'd also visit her stepmother on the farm. So we would go out and visit the farm and visit the oak openings, and that was one of the pretty regular things that we did. We did other things too, but so as a kid, I was going out at least into that and getting that experience of nature, and I think it definitely shaped what I did as an adult.
It sounds like it was also maybe one of the best memories you have of your father.
Well, yeah, he was largely absent, so there you go. At least I have something, you know.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks very much, Carol. Thanks for your call.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, have a great day. All right, so that was Carol. How about you? Did your father take you out to parks? Did he take you out fishing or camping or hunting? Give us a call at 866-240-1065. Let's hear your memories of your father. And speaking of memories and time and so forth, it's actually time for our letter from the future. Every week, my great-great-granddaughter, Marie I., sends a letter back from the year 2299. There's this flash of photons next to my bed, and poof, there's a letter from the future. And so she wants me to read them on the air, and so here we go. Dear Great-Great-Grandpa, I know you're receiving this letter on Father's Day in 2019. I wish you could have known my father, your great-grandson, Daniel. Like all DeMars, he has the workaholic gene. I'm not kidding. They've actually isolated that gene, and we've got it. But he always took time out for the family, taking us on camping and sailboat trips, talking about nature. When my brother Sam announced he was heading for Mars, Dad was incredibly proud. I think he'd be proud of me right now, working as a bacteriologist on this project to finally dispose of nuclear wastes. I also know he would have had some good advice for me about my personal life. Oh, about that, I told you that I've really gotten into virtual soccer. It helps me take my mind off of everything else. Well, I play in one of our big virtual rooms, so I'm really running, but the other players are all over the planet. We wear virtual helmets that let us see the other players and hear what they say, etc. One thing about having virtual players is that we can choose to look like whoever we want to the other players. I usually choose to play as Beckham, so I didn't think of it much of it when one of the other players on the other team was playing as Pele. That is, until we collided. I was expecting to pass right through the other player, but it turned out to be a real person in the same room as me. We fell to the floor, and I took off my helmet to see that it was Michael. He had purposely sought out the game I was in. He picked me up and carried me off the field. The other players were all yelling at us to come back, but we didn't care. So I guess Michael and I are back together. Well, were relationships this confusing back in your time? Anyway, keep up the good work, great-great-grandpa. You are making a difference. Love, Marie I. So, interesting turn of events in my great-great-granddaughter's life there. While I was talking, I saw that we got a call. No, we didn't get it. Well, somebody called in and said something, but they're not on the line. So, but thanks for calling in, and hopefully I'll get your comment after the show. So we've got 5 minutes. Well, we've got 4 minutes left. Time to take one more call, one more memory of your father in nature. And I just think, people always connect nature and motherhood. They always talk about Mother Nature. But fatherhood is just as much there in terms of the natural world, in terms of you think of a father figure as someone who protects you. And, the natural world protects us from the harsh environment that would try to destroy us. And you also think about fatherhood as fathers as being people who take care of their children. If you're a good father, I know you do, and nature does that too. Nature provides us with what we need. So I really see a strong connection between fatherhood and nature, just as strong as the connection between motherhood and nature. So, well, it's been an interesting show. So far we heard from Becca Pollard talking about the Ohio Beyond Coal and talking about the protests that they're going to have in Cincinnati and Bowling Green and Medina, along with the giant 25-foot inflatable pig that they're going to bring all over the state. I'm not organizing those protests, but I'm cheering them on. So these hearings, they're probably going to be available on the Ohio channel, which is a channel on that you can look up on the internet, and you can watch these hearings and see for yourself just what these legislators are saying. It's really kind of amazing that they are taking money directly from First Energy and then writing these bills like House Bill 6 that directly benefit First Energy. It's, I'm going to say, in my opinion, it's corrupt. And the best solution, the best answer to corruption, in my opinion, is democracy, is humans, is people paying attention to what's happening in their government and getting out there and talking to their legislators, getting active, making a difference, and changing things, and bringing us closer to the green future as opposed to the literally, they want us to create a gray future. They want us to have a future which is full of coal ash. They want to have a future that's full of smoke. They want to have a future that's devoid of the plants and animals that support us. I don't want a gray future. I want a green future. And that's why I created this program for a green future. And I just want to say I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to come and talk to you every week. This is literally the highlight of my week, and I love being able to talk about environmental issues. So if you love this program, please consider becoming a patron. Just go to patreon.com, Patreon, and look for a Green Future, and you can sign up and just donate a small bit every month and help keep the show on the air. So thank you very much. It's been a great Father's Day so far, and I have a good rest of the Father's Day for everybody out there. And this is Joe DeMar signing off.